I woke up one morning on September 17th and I noticed that my hands and feet were kind of weak. And so, when I got out of bed, I was a little bit unstable. Naturally, I went to class and discovered that writing and taking notes was difficult on the computer at first, and then by hand for my second class. By the end of that, I couldn't pack my bag, so two of my friends packed it for me and walked me over to the Harvard Health Services.
So when he called, he gave no indication there was a problem. I was in the middle of a meeting, and I asked if I could call him back in 15 minutes. He said fine. And it was only when I called him back that he said, I woke up this morning, my legs were weak, I couldn't hold my computer, dropped it. So I arranged for him to go to the Mass General, where I trained, and still had some friends. And then I called Maureen, and we started up to Boston.
When we got there, the whole experience was just, kind of surreal to see, my son just deteriorating, becoming, gradually more paralyzed and less able to function.
The Mass General was gonna ship me off to rehab after 11 days when I could only move my eyes and I was still on a vent.
We knew something needed to be done. So when I called and asked for help, it came instantly.
Dr. Brody called me and asked me if I was up for a challenge, and myself as well as our paramedic team flew up by a helicopter to pick him up. During the flight back from Boston, we were vigilantly monitoring his vital signs, including his heart rate, his blood pressure, his oxygen saturation, as well as his comfort. Michael, despite being unable to really move anything, was wide awake.
When I first met Michael, I thought that he was in very bad shape. He had difficulty breathing. He was not only weak, he couldn't move any muscle in his body. The only way he could communicate was by eye movements. And this was for quite a long time.
He was able to point to things with his eyes, or he used a communication board to say if he had pain, if he had needs, and he would look at what he needs on the communication board.
Michael had rather rare disease called Guillain-Barré, where his own immune system, sort of fighting an infection, attacked his body, and it attacked the nerves themselves, the axons. We are very aggressive and very proactive about treating acute neurological diseases, and what we did is we actually went beyond what is sort of standard of care and treated him with additional rounds of immunoglobulins and plasmapheresis.
He was completely dependent on the ventilator. He could not initiate a breath. His diaphragms were completely paralyzed. He could not even signal to the ventilator that he needed a breath. But for a while, my concerns were pretty much all the complications that a patient who's that vulnerable can get. And really, he was dependent on the nursing care and the physician care and a lot of diligence.
The nurses were really fantastic, and so they would always keep me company and just chat with me, even though I really couldn't chat back with them.
After at least a month, we started to see the first signs of improvement, of little movements in the shoulder. And that was very encouraging because that gave us an indicator that his nerves were regenerating.
My job over time, which was probably over the span of several months, was to slowly liberate him from the ventilator as his strength slowly regained.
I eventually got off of the ventilator, and this was just in time for Thanksgiving. That was also around the first time I was able to speak, which was pretty nice because then I didn't have to rely on eye movements. A couple days later, I was shipped off to rehab.
He did need to relearn everything from his ability to get up out of bed, to go from one surface to another surface, his ability to get dressed, to brush his teeth, to comb his hair, all of what we call activities of daily living. He had to relearn everything.
Prognostically, I was always trying to figure out where he fell. It took a long time, for example, for his quads to come back. It wasn't a given that he's going to return to where he was, but it's not surprising.
He's been constantly improving, and yet at this stage, he still requires crutches to walk. It's been a very, very long road.
What he had noticed was the area where he had the necessary tracheostomy tube, that the scar was greatly indented and affixed to his trachea. To be part of a team of highly skilled, excellent physicians and nurses who can have a case like Michael's, where he comes in intubated with the trach in the ICU and leaves walking out now because he's going to go back to school a week from now. So this is the kind of thing all physicians love to be involved with. How are you? How's everything? Any pain, any problems over the week?
No.
He's walking, he's back to school.
They're pretty good.
You know, he's really getting back to life, and that's nice because his recovery was quite extensive and very slow. It's great to see him getting back to normal. And now he's, really ready to move on. He can just pick back up where he left off.
It's very rewarding because a lot of the patients that we treat here are so sick when they're here.
It's very gratifying to see it was all worth it. All our, pushing our doubts aside and pushing ahead and going through with this as aggressively as possible. What we did was actually the right thing to do.
Hi, you recognize me?
Hey,
wow, hardly. How are you? Wow, this looks amazing.
It's wonderful when patients come back and you see how much progress they've made. He's a very, very special young man. Oh my God, amazing.
They say that there are some patients that you'll never forget for the rest of your career, and I think Michael fits that mold perfectly.
How's it going?
Oh man, Happy New Year, baby.
You too.
Look at you. You cut your hair?
Yeah.
All right.
It takes an exquisite level of care to bring someone through such a profound and protracted illness.
New York-Presbyterian not only saved my life, but they kept me sane. They really have a fantastic staff there who deeply cares about their patients.